Alt-R. Okay, so we are recording. All right, so keep in mind that if you're going to see this video after the fact, yeah, things are moving around. This is going to be new territory for me in one regard, because I have facilitated Zoom meetings. Easy does it. I have done lives on Facebook. Easy does it. But I have not ever used them together. So this should be fun. All right. So, and if you're here with me, please tell me that you're here so that I know that this is reaching you in real time, even though I find out after the fact, of course, because I can see how many people have joined and all that good stuff. But say hello, interact with me. Please, if you have questions, if you have input, this is what this platform is about. And I failed to include that as well. When I say that, I'm going to let you know. So ping, put a little ping there. That to which I refer is the See We Run Facebook group. And I did not include that in my list of things and matters that we will discuss today, but we will take some time again, and I will let you know what I envision for the group. Okay, and I hope that you'll go on over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and like Facebook, and follow, which is one and the same effectually. And please, 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 please raise your hand, make a comment, whatever, just so that I know that you're there in real time with me and not have to find out after the fact. Okay. If you're signing on and you're not familiar with the Zoom integration, you needn't do anything. And I know for some of you, you're going to be like, oh, well, we already know that. Everybody knows that. I am reaching everybody where they are. And we don't have those type of condescending attitudes here. So if you got that type of condescending attitude, we ask that you kindly check it at the door. All right. Okay. So yeah, all that stuff is just going to be behind the scenes for me. Just more work for me, which is kind of fun because I'm learning, I'm growing. So I'm excited. You get to see it in real time, which is kind of funny. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. It is playing. This is exciting. Okay, so I can see two people over there. I cannot see who, of course, because you're not logged into Zoom. You didn't join this meeting through Zoom. So I can't see from the Zoom aspect. So please, 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 please say hello. And I'm saying hello back at you. All right. Okay, so I can see that we are live and this is good. And you can even see the logo with the Zoom, so you know about you can see that it's integrated. All right, so here we go, because we got a lot to discuss and we've got to keep it moving because we only have 52 weeks. 52 weeks, yo, is just not a lot of time. Yes, I said yo. 52 weeks, yo, is not a lot of time. And we've already lost so much time just in the last 2 weeks with the inauguration and all of you being so doe-eyed about how beautiful everyone looks. And I agree, I concur completely that Michelle absolutely slayed. And I am here for all of the coat fashion and the wonderful colors. And I'm here for Amanda's spoken word. And we may not get into that just now. Well, you know what? It's relevant. We'll get into it just a little bit, but not much. Okay. Today we discuss number one, minstrel versus motivation. Am I saying minstrel like that related to women? No. I'm saying minstrel, MINSTREL. And I can begin sharing my screen. I'm so excited. I cannot even stand it. All right. Minstrel, like this. Okay, history of minstrel. The slaves. Okay, like this. Minstrel, the early minstrel banjo. And you know that it was looked upon very negatively. Blackface, those type of things. Okay, so in its inception, and I'll show you here. And I love that I can do this now because I believe that we all process information differently. I've said that several times. And so, whereas I may, and I'm not necessarily referring to myself, so I'll just say, whereas one person may be a visual learner and retain information from visual manipulatives or learning tools, another person may need to write. You know, they may be more hands-on, if you will, and need to be able to hold a program and 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 maybe attend a show to even really have it sink in. So as you see here, in its inception, the concept is just basically entertainment. And it's medieval European entertainment. So you got a musician, a juggler, acrobat, a singer, or even a fool, which would be likened to a modern day comedian, even though I know some of, we kind of colloquially refer to them as fools anyway. But of course, as it relates to slavery, it was used to degrade us and to suggest that somehow our only worth was to be a jester to the royal colonists, if you will, right? Or slave owners. So in that aspect is how I'm referring to Minstrel. Let's see if I can do this. I don't want to get too fancy here, but I do want to go back and forth. Let me see if I can do it without messing up everything. I think I can. Oh, I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it. Oh, I love it. Okay. So here we go. This is the problem that we're having. And I mentioned it, but I mentioned it in the video that was inadvertently deleted. And I really, really hated that because I wanted it to be captured. And I hate having to repeat something that I passionately stated because I want you to see it exactly the way I say it. I'm not fearful at all about my delivery. And I want to repeat that. I am not fearful at all about my delivery because I know my heart. And I know that I have put in a lot of work in the communities to share my heart with you all. So if you confuse anything with my passionate delivery and you say, "Oh, her heart's not in it," or she means something, some ill will, then you are misperceiving because I have well established with the communities, plural, and that is national, every state that I have ever hit and I have ever served as a leader in any capacity. I have made it a point to intentionally show my heart. Okay. So when I say minstrel, I'm not intending to pick on anyone. I'm not. But that is the best way because sometimes we have to use words that are so piercing that maybe it will jolt us out of this colloquial sleep that we talk about all the time. And this is both for and remember, I hate having to do this black and white, black and white, black and white. And I've said it once before. Can you imagine how other ethnic groups look from the outside looking in on this seemingly endless fight between black and white? That's not to say that it's not a relevant matter. Of course, it's a relevant matter, but Native Americans, they have their plight. Asians have their plight. Look at China. China right now, there are people that are protesting for democracy. That we, yes, there was an instance of an attempted coup that we just experienced. But generally speaking, we have enjoyed our our democratic methodology. We don't get arrested. We don't get put in jail for defying the communist government. Do you understand what I'm saying? So even if, yes, there are still lots of issues in America that need to be resolved, and they are not. I'm not, clearly, we know that I'm on that boat because it's 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. But the point I'm making is that we are taking this way too far. We just take it for granted. We take this for granted. And here we are, and we talk about it after, let me reiterate, after the election. As I mentioned when we first began, and I almost got ahead of myself and I said Doe-Eyed. After every election, voters effectually go back to sleep. Activists effectually go back to sleep. And this is what I was sharing with you when some of you were wondering why I was not at the Black Lives Matter protest. I have organized protests. I have been at the protests. I have been front and center at every protest that was had for an entire summer or any particular season, before, after an election cycle, during an election cycle. I've done it all. Okay, been featured in newspapers for having for my input, sought after to actually make commentary at the event. You can look it up. You know, there's some of you only think that there's bad articles out there about me. Think about it. You know, like Puffy said, all publicity is good publicity in one regard. Now the libel I'm taking care of. That, you know, I'm taking care of that. Trust me, I've got that handled. But there are articles out there that are consistent with who I am. Okay. So what I'm getting at is that yes, there is relevance to attending the Black Lives Matter protests, but think about individuals like myself who've done this, and Cory, I want to say, yeah, Cory Booker has talked about it. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name. Several of us have talked about it, and we affectionately tired. And it reminds me of what James Baldwin he talked about. And I love this, and I posted it on my social media platforms more than once over the course of 5 years. I tend to pull that video and post it, every once in a while. And he says, well, my ancestors, you said you needed time then, and referring to racist white America, or the divisive America that would not allow for the implementation and the forward movement upon a more perfect union. And he says, well, you told my ancestors that you just needed a little more time. Then you told my aunt, our ancestors, our slave ancestors, you told them. Then you told my grandma that you needed more time. Then you told my aunt that you needed more time. Now you're telling me that you need more time? How much more time do you need for your progress? This is what I'm talking about, friends. It becomes minstrel when we become doe-eyed after an election. Oh, look, look at Michelle. And please do not misunderstand this. Do not misconstrue this. I believe that the Obamas are due their respect. And they looked awesome. But I would bet that they will agree that this is not the time to just be incessantly focused and doe-eyed and just like, oh, they brought me flowers. It's just like what I referred to before. Oh, you have the abusive husband and he brings you flowers, and all of a sudden you forgot about the black eye you have. Look at the flowers, it's so pretty. Look at Michelle's coat, it's so amazing. Look at Michelle's fake hair. Oh my God. And we have to stop doing that as well. This over glorification of weave. I've had individuals ask me, please, get into my business. I sell weave. I tell them it's against my religion, and it is. Because there's an over glorification. Now, there are individuals who have a need for it, cancer patients, patients with alopecia, patients with just other conditions that result in hair loss. And I am so pro for just Black women or any women, and especially I say Black women because we've been denigrated because of our use of weave. I'm so here for us doing ourselves and enjoying these ways that we can enhance our beauty. But you've heard me say over and over again, and I will not backtrack. You can come for me all you want to, and I'm gonna send you right back home. Okay, sit down, friends, because over glorification of weave is not helping us. You've got individuals who the salon, the seller of the hair, and it can be a Black woman seller or it can be another seller from a different ethnic group and gender altogether. And that's irrespective. What I'm referring to is that those individuals, they're making bank. They make a milli. Meanwhile, the person that is buying the weave has zero edges and zero balances. That's not what we are going to be about. We and move forward and not appear minstrel, not appear unmotivated. We need to stay motivated. Have a day, take that day, but I don't want to hear any more about Michelle's hair and her coat when we have work to do. And I believe that she would say the same. Maybe her delivery would be different. I'm not gonna backtrack on my delivery. I mean exactly what I said, and I said what I mean. Lodisa EK. We gotta stop it. And then it's this na boo boo type of rut that we find ourselves in as well. And now we're pulling in our white allies into this na boo boo rut as well. Hey, Caucasian, white, yeah, I hate saying white and Black, but you all use the terms just incessantly. Lord have mercy, because there's so much richness to the culture of Black and diasporan, and there's so much richness to the culture of Caucasian as well, just like Asian. Not every, they're not just, not all of them want to just be referred to as Asian. We know that. Same thing with Latino. Not all of them just want to be referred to as Latino. They want to, I am from Mexico. I am from Venezuela. I am from Portugal. Asian wise, I am from Korea. I am from the Philippines. I am from Japan. These things are relevant. But that'll be another conversation, because we gotta get into this. So I'm talking to all of y'all, because it too often sounds like this black and white conversation. No, I'm talking to all of y'all. All y'all. That's my party. The all y'all party. Hashtag all y'all party. And I've used it. And yes, there will be t-shirts, so don't use my copyrighted trademarks. But nonetheless, okay. So this nana boo boo is like, oh, nana boo boo, we won the election. And so it's us Democrats, and especially us Black Democrats, who have been yelling to the ceiling as though no one sees or hears us, saying, hey, we need change, doing that same tap dance, that same minstrel act. We're going to tap dance to the election. We're going to tap dance. Here we go. Woo-doo-doo. Oh, we need votes. And then what? Na-na-na boo-boo, we won. Na-na-na boo-boo, we won. Now we can go back to sleep. I was enjoying my sleep before the election, and I want to go back to sleep now. I can't go back to sleep. No, you can't. Do you understand? I hope that the way that I'm depicting it, because I'm intentionally doing this, you should feel foolish if you have assumed this disposition, because this is how it looks to individuals like myself, who absolutely has 1000% pride in my culture and has stood on the front lines before you all, even where some of you have not supported me the way that you should. You will let people throw rocks at me, knowing the things that I have done for the community, and not stand up for me. And I still stand right there, just like every other leader before me, or every other lover of their community before them. Every other sister, I am my sister and my brother's keeper as a diasporan woman here in America. It makes me sick to my stomach to see it. Wake up! Get over yourselves. Nana Boo Boo is not an adult disposition. It's a childish one. And we all vehemently condemn it when our children do it, or should. We should equally check ourselves and look in the mirror. Maybe give yourself a moment. Yeah, go have Nana Boo Boo all you want for one day. But y'all you still in this Nana Boo Boo state. In fact, you're in this Nana Boo Boo state as it relates to now the fact what and I've got this video, I'm going to play this with where's my time? 4:34. Okay. With Trump pardoning Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. And some of y'all like, I think we got it wrong. He can't be racist because he pardoned Lil Wayne, and Lil Wayne is one of us. What have I told you about Lil Wayne? What have I told you about Jay-Z? What have I told you about, y'all not gonna like this one either. What's his name? Mike? Big Mike? Money Mike or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't think it's Money Mike. It's something, what is it? And now he's with the Greenwood Bank, much like the Russell Simmons and his rush card, and taking all your money and not really giving back to the community the way he should be. Oh, cheap dates. I love you, but you cheap dates. Cheap dates. You take anything. You take a little, a little nugget from him here, a little, they came into the community and they paid off all the layaways. So they're awesome. They're like gods because they paid off all of our layaways. And then you go home and you still have issues with paying your rent. You still have issues with taking care of your utilities. You still walk into schools for your children where the teachers are primarily a different race and don't look like you and have not been properly trained to have the sensitivity to properly educate your children. And that's including all quote unquote minorities, because I don't like that term either. And that's true here, even in CMS. Disenfranchised children come in all shapes, sizes, and colors here, and I imagine around the nation as well, very pointingly so. And I dare say, not imagine, we know it's likely to be true. Those who have their primary language is Spanish are struggling in these schools. Some schools and some teachers are doing a fantastic job. I'm talking about overall, generally speaking. We're not talking about the exception to the rule, friends. The exception, we shouldn't have an exception to a rule as it relates to education. We should see some consistent application here. We should see all of our children rising. Whatever happened to what is it? No Child Left Behind. That's a cheap date example right there. Oh, I just put a little sticker on it. I give them, hey, y'all buy the T-shirt. Y'all elected me, okay. And he's saying to or she is saying behind the scenes to other candidates like myself when we're on the election cycle, on the campaign trail, and they're all I gotta say, we really can't get that done. We really have no intention of getting that done. But I'm gonna make some T-shirts, and they're gonna love it. They're gonna eat it up. They're gonna wear shirts to say, "Don't leave no child behind," and they're gonna think I did something. I ain't really done nothing at all, but they're gonna think I did something. Cheap dates, minstrel versus motivation. We need to stay motivated. And it doesn't take a lot of work. I'm telling you, it doesn't take a lot of work. Look at all the work that was put into the Black Lives Matter movement. If that same energy had been used to back Ice Cube's Black Contract, and the fact that we still need a revised Black code amongst Black Americans because we don't have any clarity, and this is a great example of it. Hence the video. Let's roll the video, and then I'll explain it. We'll move forward because we gotta keep it going. Where are we going? Here we go. Here we go. Let's share the screen. Here we go. Here we go. Alrighty. Oh, you get to see the cute stuff. My baby. It took me off one area, but we're fine. It's okay because I remember I don't live under a rock. I have no secrets, so it's all right. Okay, but I want you to see this. I'm gonna defer. Yo, bro, you heard Joe Part and Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. All right, so let's come on out of this. That was the shortest explanation, and I believe the most pointing explanation. I think he did a wonderful job in putting that out there. You can follow him and give him some much deserved props at Domo Draper, and you can go back in my timeline. I have reposted his video, and it will remain there unless he asks otherwise. And I liked it, and I mentioned him, and he said he appreciated the recognition and the support. So I imagine that it will be allowed to stay here. Okay, so the point I'm making is that this is what I'm talking about. That's a version of Doe-Eyed behavior. And it's sad that the explanation was necessary. Do you understand? And then I am really, really troubled, but I'm not surprised. But it's still no less impactful in a negative way that Attorney Crump goes on Twitter and then broadcasts, and I imagine he reposted this, or something to the same effect on his other social media as well, but where I saw it was on Twitter. And I do follow Attorney Crump. I know that, what I tell you all the time, I think it's true until proven otherwise, right? Okay, so, I try to rock with people until they prove otherwise. And I was just disgusted by the fact that Attorney Crump gave this, these kudos to Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. Now, he didn't go as far as to give kudos to Trump, because I think I would hope that he would realize that that's a minstrel, that's some Sambo stuff, like y'all call it. That's some Sambo stuff right there. Really, friend? Is that what we're doing now? And he likened it to the plight of the disenfranchised Black man who is in jail and shouldn't be. Herein lies the irony, is that, darlings, knock, knock, those people who are, those Black men, beautiful Black men who are disenfranchised and should not be in jail, that are there unlawfully, wrongfully convicted. Even some of them are justly convicted, but have been the victim of trumped up charges. So they've not been convicted of only that which they committed. They've been convicted of other crimes at the hand of fraud by the court. And I mean that collectively, like it could have been the lawyer, it could have been the DA, it could have been the judge. Who knows? It could have been the police who investigated. And, I don't know. But the point I'm making is that they're still there. So what in the hell is he talking about? You can't liken it to that situation. In fact, what you're doing is instead you are glorifying, again, this over-glorification of knowing criminal acts. Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, they intentionally committed their criminal acts, and they are only sorry because they got caught. And Attorney Crump tries to liken that to the plight of disenfranchised Black men who are in jail for this specific community, who is in jail, albeit wrongful convictions, and some of them are sitting on death row, just like she said. And they did not commit murder. They did not commit the crime, and yet they are on death row. Some of them committed what we would consider colloquially petty crimes, like maybe they stole a jacket from, a store or whatever. And the charges were quote unquote trumped up. Think about this, trumped up. You still want to find some way to attribute some positive characteristics to this nutcase. It's a problem. We've got to move forward. This Doe-Eyed after every election, it is not the business. And I was so thankful. I retweeted Common, because Common, amongst the Griot and some other Black entities, were like, knock, knock, knock. And they were doing it in a very kind way, very kind way. Now I'm going to be myself. You may not perceive it as kind, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Now I'm not going to do that. I wasn't raised that way, and I particularly care very much for my raising, and I think it's sound. And the reason why I'm not going to do it is because I don't think it's working with you all. When someone sugarcoats it, you think, oh, they only gave me a supplement rest. I can keep doing all my minstrel stuff. And I'm talking about everybody. Just like I said in the beginning of this kind of segment of this session, you are grouping up all the Caucasian allies too. Come on over here. We're going to nana boo-boo together. Let's nana boo-boo on TikTok and make all these minstrel damn TikToks making fun of Trump, making fun of this. And yes, they're funny. They're cute. They're awesome. Whoa, yay. And now what? What now? What now? Are you serious? Are you all going back to sleep? Really? Well, we have so much to do. We don't know what all they're going to do. Biden and Kamala Harris. I am very hopeful. Very hopeful. I remain hopeful. I've told you a million times over, I have no intentions of trying to denigrate either one of them. And I'm very, very thankful, within the scope of, reason, if you will, that he did. He held true to the things that he said he would sign immediately as far as his executive orders. But if you saw what I saw, he smirked. What is he smirking for? What is he smirking about? What is this? It's like it's almost like somebody holding they're crossing their fingers behind their back, and then they say, "I love you." Like what? Oh, okay. All right, we got to keep on going because it just goes so fast, and it's already 4:47. What I did is I set it for 1 hour and 15 minutes because I believe that's what we're gonna need, friend. We may even need, as we get into this, we may even need 2 hours. I don't know. I don't know if I can sit here 2 hours. I know I can. I know I can go in with y'all for 2 hours, and I know that I can, all day long because I'm well versed on the subject matter. I can definitely go in for 2 hours, but I don't want to have 2 hour formats because I want us. We also don't need to just be talking all the damn time. This is also minstrel in its particular regard. I don't want to be sitting here and just talking about stuff. I want to be getting stuff done. That's why they call me Queen Getter Done. I want to get stuff done, but I can't do it by myself. I'm super, but I can't do it by myself. I can't, and they know it, and they bet on that too. They even bet on the fact because I've heard it in courtrooms said directly to me. I've told some of you directly to your face. You've heard it. You've heard me speak about it at functions, at venues, at protests, in fact. And I've told you what judges have said to me. You're apt, Tigress. But the general public isn't. And they're going to rely on your aptness to their own fault. Boom. So it's good to rely on me in one regard, because in the sense of depending on me, but not to rely on me to think that I'm going to be able to somehow magically take a wand and go and yes, I'm very magical. I'm very, but I'm not literally magical. I cannot do any of this stuff all by myself. Even when I have taken on the task of meeting the needs of those without homes, please understand I may be an organizer, I may be a facilitator, I may be a motivator. I may remind people of their power and how even the little things that they can do are helpful to those without homes. But please understand, I didn't do it by myself. There were wonderful individuals who I opened my mouth, like it says, in our biblical proverbs, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I would ask them, can you open up your doors? We would like to hold this venue. We need a place to facilitate a remote restaurant for them and give them some Southern hospitality and goodie bags. Can you open up your doors? And people were kind enough to say yes, or people were kind enough to respond to me favorably when I would say, hey, I don't have all the money in the world. I'm trying to run a business, raise my child by myself, and go to school. I got a little bit of coins. I got a little bit of coins, but it's foolish for me to dig that far down deep into my pocket beyond my stability. Hey, can y'all, can we like do like a buddy system? I call it Angel Awares, and you just buddy up. You almost like you like what are they? The Angel Tree at the Salvation Army. You kind of get linked with a family or get linked with one specific person that you feel like, okay, I think I can handle the needs for this particular person. So I'll agree to meet their needs here. And then another person steps in and say, well, I believe that this will work out for me, that I meet this person's needs. And that's how we handle it. Some of you were there with me and some of you are watching now and you're like, yes, there you go. That's how it works. But I can't do it all by myself. So they laugh, and they're effectively laughing at me too, because they know how badly I want us to grow. They know how badly I want the change for us, the reform, the more perfect union that it's very easy to implement, but it is not ever going to be easy to implement if you go back to sleep after every election. If you let this abusive husband of America punch you in the face, dead ass in the eye, and be walking around with a black eye looking stupid because you just got some flowers. He just got you some dandelions. Then we have got to stop, and you know, and this is important as well as it relates to our. And let me go back here because you're just kind of looking at that screen. Let me stop sharing for just 1 second. So yeah, so then it's like your our Caucasian counterparts, our our allies. They're like, okay, well, they told us not to do anything unless they asked us to. So I don't want to do anything unless they tell us, hey. So they're trying to be respectful and they're following your minstrel tales, skipping around, doe-eyed, talking about just follow me, say na 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 boo boo. Come on, we're going na 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 boo boo. We won the election. Michelle got a pretty coat on. Y'all have seen a damn burgundy ass coat before, okay? I love me some Michelle. I love me some Obama, within reason. I always say within reason because what do I say? I don't know them personally, but everything that they have done so far, generally speaking, has been boom, 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 amazing. Generally. Okay. We've had our bumps in the road. I was confused about why Obama didn't like Biden for like a good 2 months of the beginning of this election process. I was confused, or actually it was toward the middle. I was like, okay, I'm confused. I don't know, because as soon as I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go with Biden, and everybody was like, hell no, and I was like, well, I'm so confused. Okay, all right. Now, and also we have to stop, watering down the egregiousness of colonization and slavery. I know we want to get on the bandwagon and we want everybody to feel okay, but that does not resolve issues. Okay, that again, we can use this as a perfect example again. If the person who is abusing you does not get the proper help that they need, and you keep just pacifying them with what you view is empathy, because not everyone is perfect, and you keep giving them this proverbial pass because you want to be like Christ, right? You're going to turn your cheek. I guess you're going to turn this cheek. You're going to turn this eye. You're just going to, you're going to have blackness, black eye, 2 black eyes, bruises all over your body because you turn in every cheek, right? That's ridiculous. Okay. It is necessary for individuals to face their struggles. And a lot of you, and I really appreciate the movement there, a lot of you are realizing that, you know what? I don't have to stay in toxic environments. You all are using that term. That's like a big trending term now. And it's funny because some of the people that are saying, I don't want to do toxic environments. You're the toxic component, just so you're aware. Just in case your friends didn't tell you, let me be the first to tell you that you're likely the toxic component. Okay. But there's help for us all. And what I'm getting at is that this is no different for colonists. Some of you are really being sold. So you're being sold on the fact that there are Caucasian individuals, allies even, who are now crying on TikTok, and they're expressing their frustration and their empathy for everything we've dealt with. And whereas that is greatly appreciated in one regard, if it is sincere. Now, if you're getting on TikTok, you're a Caucasian purported ally. If you're saying I'm an ally, you're asserting that you're an ally, and you get on TikTok because you just want more followers, and you know that if you talk about Black issues, and if you say, oh my God, they really were treated so bad, like that you're going to get more likes and all that kind of stuff, and somehow you're going to fill this gap of making it right with diasporan folk. It doesn't work with me. It may work with some of them, but it's not going to work with me. And I'm hopeful that it won't work with them for long. I'm hopeful that they'll wake back up. Wake up. Okay. Because those individuals, and the issue is the same for those of Native American descent, same for those who faced internment. So we're going to go to that because you've heard me say these things, and I'm going to quickly go to those, and then we're going to rush through the last two matters here, and then I'm going to tell you about See Tigress Run, and we're going to conclude this session. I had to get all of this in today because it was necessary, okay? But this watering down the egregiousness of colonization and slavery has got to stop. So what's been going on around is like they're saying that, oh no, the part in the Constitution that talks about being 3/5 human or 3/5 representation, and let me pull it up. I posted it on my, and actually we may go to 1:30. I think I can handle that. We're going to go 1 hour, 30 minutes today because we need to get all this in. We just do. Okay, so let me go to 3/5 human. You know, it's big, it's trending. You see it comes right up right now. So we're going to go to Congress, Library of Congress for the text. And it's Article 1, Constitution, Library of Congress. And this way I can show you in real time. And actually, I think I misspoke. I think it's Article 4, actually. Let me see, let me make sure. All right, here we go. Hold on, guys. My bad. I did this the last time. I do get them jumbled up, and this is the reason why it's important to read directly from. All right, so right here, no person shall be a representative in Article 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of the state in which he shall be chosen. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed 3/5 of all other persons. Okay. So this is one of those situations where the answer is yes and no. So everybody's like, well, this term, 3/5 of all other persons, is now being watered down to suggest that somehow there was no intention nor explicit designation. And some articles are at least saying, well, we don't know about the intention, because everything else about that time period said that they intended African-American or diasporan slaves to not be considered equal to them as citizens nor humans, because they were treated as property, and they were logged in inventory records as property, and they were spoken about as property, and in even legal records when they attempted to assert their own God-given rights to you know, up in the beginning of the preamble, that we all have these inalienable rights, right? These human rights. And when they asserted themselves, and I'm going to give you a case law reference for this so that you understand that, yes, indeed, without question, colonists fully intended for diasporan slaves, the people that they kidnapped, raped, beat, murdered, even before they made touch ground on the soil, American soil, which was Native American soil. They not ever intended them to be free. They not ever intended to recognize their human rights. They're under natural law, godly law. Everyone who's walking around that has we all have the same extremities. We breathe. We all have brains. Under God's law, all of those individuals have human rights. These colonists had no intentions, and I keep saying colonists, but you know, either way, colonialists and colonists, all same thing. Let me show you real quick, because some of y'all are gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's not really all that smart. And she was saying, you see, British colonists, you can also say colonialists or colonialism. Saying a person who supports the practice of political control over other countries and occupying them with settlers. Saying, okay, they're all the same thing. Okay, so they can be used interchangeably. All right. And this is another reason why, again, I love this, so that we can all be on the same page in real time and we can move forward so that we can, boom, we got clarity. We see it. That's why I am petitioning so greatly for a revised Black code and a revised American code. Like, what are we doing? What do we stand for as a nation? Yes, we can infer what we stand for as a nation, but there are too many contradictions in our legislation from state to state, too many contradictions as it relates to the application of law, the enforcement of law, and because it's not enforced in an equitable manner. And I'm not even talking about just racially wise, it's not enforced equitably, gender wise, economic status wise. It is just not done, not even statewide. You know that you can go from one state and you can have 2 blunts, you know, of marijuana, and you're going to be charged with drug trafficking, and you're going to be convicted in that state, and there's going to be a mandatory sentencing. And then you go to another state, and it's perfectly fine to have those 2 blunts. Enjoy yourself. Well, I don't care that you have the 2 blunts. Why are you asking me about the fact that you have 2 blunts? Why are you bothering me? Because enjoy your blunts. Okay, those are issues, because it's still the United States of America. There should be some united fashion of our code. And that's just commonsensical. That's logical. That's not, because this is all too, this is, and there have been many scholarly articles on this same subject matter by licensed legal professionals, lawyers, judges, who realize that, wait, something's not right with this picture. This is not good. If we're all citizens of the United States, yes, we have the states that are subjugated. Yes, we get that. And we get that there are differences, or the differences in the statutory law from state to state should only be relevant to the specific needs of that state or the specific parameters of that state. They shouldn't be based on like what I just explained. The same amount of marijuana possession should not be illegal in this state if it's not illegal in the other. Those are things that we can get on the same page. When there are parameters that would merit having individualized statutory law, it would be things like maybe the geographic landscape, you know what I mean? The farmland versus, okay, so or maybe the wastewater treatment facilities and legislation for that, based on the fact of how many, you know, energy producer sites they have versus agricultural land. You know what I mean? Just to make sense out of that sustainably, you know, for environmental reasons. Those would be the things that would merit having individualized statutory law. As opposed to, okay, we got 2 blunts over here, And that's going to send them to jail for 20 years. And they have 2 months over there, and they celebrate. Let's go. You got 2 months. You got the third one. We need one more. We're going to dinner. All right, 507. We're doing good because I'm happy. We got to get it. Okay. So what's been going around is, oh, no. That 3/5 of all other person, that only had to do with taxation. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they only had to do with taxation and delegate accounting. How many delegates each region gets, on the basis of their population. Oh, that's all that is. Had nothing to do with not recognizing the basal human rights of slaves. How stupid does that sound? Y'all follow? Okay. When you say the basal human rights of slaves, that statement in and of itself is an oxymoron. Please do not forget the task at hand. And see, we won't have to keep rehashing this matter because sometimes it is also the Caucasian allies who don't want to hear it rehashed because it does make them feel bad. And I get that. Lord have mercy. I get that. I get it completely. But when you start to try to water down the egregiousness of slave trade, that's when individuals like myself I will be there front and center to let you know, no. We're not going to do that. That's against Tigress McDaniel statute 252 whatever, subsection C, D, and 1 and F. That's not going to fly. Okay? And you'll see, including those bound to service for a term of years, maybe they were referring to those who were in prison. We were not referred to in the Constitution as citizens, nor were we amongst the free persons. Some of you are misinterpreting that as well. You think, oh, well, they're saying free persons as opposed to slave persons. Slave, those who were still enslaved. So slaves who had obtained their freedom. No, sir, we're going to set the record straight right now. We're going to go to, let me pull it up. Boom, 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 boom. Hold on 1 second. I've got to pull it from my archives, what I posted. Okay. Make sure I got it. Because it is a precedential case. Just hold on 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. Give me 1 second. I thought I had it readily available. Evidently, I don't. I'm going to pull it up. I went into great detail. And actually, I did. Hold on. Take a picture. So. I got so excited about everything else, right? Hold on 1 second. Give me grace, give me grace, give me grace. Oh, good gracious. Okay, talk amongst yourselves. because, and so the reason why there is a stall, I would go ahead and log in to Lexis. I strongly encourage you, as I have before, and I'll reiterate my encouragement today, that you subscribe to Lexis so that you can access case records in our nation's history. They pretty much include, as I understand, pretty much all that can be included, okay? All that isn't sealed or otherwise unavailable to that database. And I don't think it's appropriate for me to log in and then live broadcast from within that portal like that. I believe that that definitely violates legal and ethical standards. But the case itself, there are some references that are publicly available, and that's what we're going to pull up here in a second. And so it would be easier for me to just go back in my previous search if I were logged in to Lexis, but I can't, of course I can, but I'm choosing not to do it. I'm choosing to be discreet. And just give me 1 second. So again, just talk amongst yourselves or ask questions or make comments. This is a perfect time to do so. And we're still on point. There you go. This is crazy because I don't know why. Let's see. Give me a second. I got it. Okay. Whew. Oh, goodness. So no, you know what? I still don't have it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pull it up. And then we're going to get straight to it. So hold on 1 second. And again, this is the time to please make comments, join in, ask questions, please, because this is, This is not the Tigress show. It's not, I do not intend it to be. All right, perfect. So it's Scott versus Stanford. And so I'm pulling it up. This is a court case from 1857. Yes, I said a court case from 1857. So what I'm going to do is I am going to okay, so this is appropriate, I think. We're not going to share the screen, but I'm going to copy, paste it into Word. And yeah, then that'll be perfect. And then that way I'll share my screen. So let me log out here, or log out. Come back to Facebook. Okay, here we are. And I'm going to share my screen. Oh, share. And we're going to go to Word right there. All right, here we go. Perfect. Okay, so took a second, but I am dedicated to, hey, and this is the whole point of this, is that I am far from perfect, but hey, we're going to definitely rock it out. But this was necessary to cover. And then we're just going to highlight the good guys. We're going to go over the list of other elected state officials that you have to do your homework in this regard as well. I need you. This is exactly what I was referring to as far as see, we run. We need individuals in each state who will effectually, you can call it starting a chapter, if you will, for your respective region. We will even likely need them municipal wise. I would say maybe for a greater metropolitan area, so that it can kind of cover maybe 3 different cities, or like a surrounding area, like a greater metropolis, like the triad that we have here, or here in the Charlotte Metro. And I'm saying that to say, because we have so much work to do, there's so many officials in every county, in every city. You have the mayoral and the city council, then you have your county board of commissioners and all your county officials. And some of you don't even realize that they are separate but same, right? Then you have the individuals at the state level. We notice, and I say we collectively, myself and some other of my colleagues, and then some others who just follow this particular politician, we realize that people they still don't have a complete understanding of the role as senator for Congress, and then the role of House of Representatives, right? So, and then the role of our state officials, right? So you have your U.S. Congress, men and women, and then you have state elected officials, right? And they were confused about that Senate race as well. So we need to make sure that we have a full understanding of this. And this is why we're taking such a deep dive. And there will be instances, just like today, where it will be difficult to really cover everything in a period of an hour and a half. But today we had to talk about the other issues that I'm hopeful that we will move from, and we will not just continue to be doe-eyed and sleep effectually. So nonetheless, on the issue of watering down the egregiousness of colonization and slavery, or making it, sugarcoating it for individuals who just don't want to talk about it anymore because it makes them feel bad, and they want their history to, that they want to change the narrative to reflect something that shows that maybe they did have a kinder disposition to slaves. No, the truth of the matter is that the history shows a terribly barbarian, egregious, inhumane level of treatment for diasporan people who were brought here as slaves. Okay, All right, let's be very clear about that. And even those who would assert themselves and try to assert their freedoms, just like this individual Scott, he was reminded in this in this case in 1857 that he was not considered human. He was not considered a citizen. We'll read very quickly the rights. So the rule here, and I'm not going to go over the nature of a brief. We're not doing that. That's not the point of this. The point of this is just to understand the core part of this case. Again, 1857. His name was Dred Scott. Some of you are familiar with it. Some of you are not. Some of you are familiar with the colloquialisms that go along with it. We'll discuss that in another session, and likely we will discuss that at the Above Ground Railroad. So please go and follow the Above Ground Railroad on all social media. It's very easy to find, the Above Ground Railroad. If you, or the ARC Inc., if you, the most convenient way to get to all of them is just to go to the abovegroundrailroad.org, and therefrom click on all the social media links and follow. And then you'll be aware of our upcoming live sessions in that regard. And I will likely use the same Zoom format now that I have figured out my whole life. Okay, all right, here we go. The rights of property are united with the rights of person. This is what I was talking about, God's law. Sometimes you hear this also related to sovereign citizens. You've heard them, they've been vilified by elected officials and judges. Well, judges are now elected officials, but they've been vilified generally by the general public and those, with power, quote unquote, because what they propose is that God's law supersedes this statutory law, this system, this judicial system that we have. And they want to go back to biblical law, an eye for an eye and things of that nature. We'll go into that in further detail over there on another day. So basically, and placed on the same ground by the Fifth Amendment, which provides that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. An act of Congress that deprives a citizen of the United States of his liberty or property merely because he came himself or brought his property into a particular territory of the United States, and who has committed no offense against the laws, can hardly be dignified with the name of due process of law. Okay, this petitioner, and it says in error. Wow. I hope you're getting this. Petitioner plaintiff in error, Dred Scott, was an enslaved person of African descent. He brought suit in the federal court against respondent owner Sanford for assault. The assault to, take him and kidnap him. At that time, evidently, assault was the appropriate statutory law. I haven't looked at the statutes during that particular time frame. I will, trust me, it's very interesting. Certiorari, which is, of course, just a review from the court. That's all that big fancy word means. He asked for a review of the court, right? So certiorari was granted. Certiorari, was granted from the Circuit Court of the United States for the District of Missouri, finding that the respondent was not liable to petitioner for assault. Petitioner being Scott, the slave. Prior to the incident, and he was amazing. Why don't we hear more about Dred Scott? Why do you think we don't hear more about Dred Scott, and we're instead hearing that, oh no, that little part in the Constitution, that was just about taxation and delegate accounting. It had nothing to do with us being evil people like that, or rather our ancestors being evil. No. And that's what I mean about the answer to the question when someone says, well, was that particular statement in the Constitution referring to slaves as not being human or being considered 3/5 human? The answer is no, not specifically, not in that explicit statement, not in that specific language, but it is inherent therein. It can be easily and logically and indisputably inferred. And not only is it an inference, we have a reason for deduction and sound deduction because of the the case law in that time frame and the records of inventory that designated slaves as property, not as they were effectually livestock, like your luggage, your not even like their pets. In fact, they were lower than pets. They were property. Okay. And in fact, it says the facts here. Respondent, which is the defendant in this case, the defendant would be the slave owner, is not liable to the petitioner for assault because he owned him as property. Prior to the institution of the present suit, an action was brought by Scott for his freedom in the Circuit Court of St. Louis County State Court, where there was a verdict and judgment in his favor. You know how he got that? I want to look into that. Man, beast mode. So we talk about our Angela Davises, we talk about our Harriet Tubman, Dred Scott, friends. Dred Scott. Dred Scott, Dred Scott, Dred Scott. All right. And I'm probably going to go 145. It might happen today because I got to get all of this in so that we can move forward. I had to take all that time because it was important. Stick with me, please, 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 please stick with me. I know this was a long one, but just stick with me. I hope I've been somewhat lively enough, not entertaining. Nothing's minstrel here, friends. We don't do minstrel. I will motivate you with high energy, but we don't do minstrel. Okay, so we keep going. Prior to the institution of the present suit, an action was brought by Scott for his freedom in the Circuit Court of St. Louis County State Court, where there was a verdict and judgment in his favor. Dred Scott, Dred Scott. On a writ of error, the judgment below was reversed, and the case remanded to the Circuit Court, where it was continued to await the decision of the case now in question. Okay. Again, don't worry about the brief, the outline of the brief. Just follow with me. All right. So, did the Circuit Court of the United States have jurisdiction to hear and determine the 1856 case between these parties, one of whom was held as a slave by defendant? No. And this has also become a major hurdle for our justice. And that's for Native Americans with the treaties that have been breached. That's with Asian, those who dealt with internment, and we're seeking reparations from that. They have not been completely made whole. The Jewish Council, the Jewish community has not been made completely whole. Each time they continue to assert their, I don't know, there's some, the feed is giving me little particles, of course, within the video feed. But nonetheless, I will share those as well. You can look them up. They are public knowledge as well. In fact, all court records are public knowledge. Generally speaking, again, those that aren't sealed are somehow excluded from that public disclosure requirement. But those, and I believe I'm calling it wrong, it's, what is it? Jewish collective lawsuit. It should probably pull it up. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the Jewish collective. I'm sorry. Sometimes I remember vividly, sometimes I don't. But yeah, Jewish collective. Okay. And there are other terms as it relates to the specific designation as the plaintiff, for the parties in the case. But they have sued on multiple occasions to execute their reparations, and each time they have dealt with a similar type of shutdown, that it's a jurisdictional issue and that court cannot hear it. And that in and of itself is a strategy that has been used and obfuscated. That word that you all know I use that pretty famously, that basically means to confuse the facts intentionally. You know what I mean? Like we walk outside, we both see the sky is blue. You say, oh, the sky is really blue. It's so pretty today. I said, no, the sky is red. What are you talking about? And he said, well, Tigress, we're both looking at it. The sky is blue. It's clearly blue. And we're not talking about the physics of it all. So if my favorite scientist sees this, Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's not, we're talking colloquially. All right, so we look at it, Ah, no, red. That's obfuscation. So imagine doing that in a court of law where you know you're reading, we both can read from the same statutory subsection, right? And it says blue is, the sky is blue, right? and and they say no in court. No, you have the lawyer saying, the judge said, no, you've misread that. Can you imagine how that would feel? Some of you have been in court and you know exactly how this feels. So this is what I'm referring to. So here we go. We have the situation where we have a jurisdictional issue that is being used to subserve the defendant's position. The defendant being the slave owner. So, sorry, we don't have jurisdiction to hear this case. So sorry. You're still a slave. Okay. And property. All right. So the conclusion here, in this 1856 landmark case, the Supreme Court of the United States posed the issue as simply this: can a Negro whose ancestors were imported, and we're not just talking about English proper language where the import, would have a different, connotation. Otherwise, they would just say immigrated, because immigrant was a term back then. Please understand that, okay? So they were imports. That's goods. That's economic goods, friends. That's not people. That's not human rights. Whose ancestors were imported into this country and sold as slaves, become a member of the political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States, and as such become entitled to all rights and privileges and immunities guaranteed by that instrument to the citizen. The court found it necessary to determine who were citizens of the several states when the Constitution was adopted. In the court's opinion, the legislation and histories of the times and the language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who had been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as a part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. The court stated that there are two clauses in the Constitution which point directly and specifically to the Negro race as a separate class of persons and show clearly that they were not regarded as a portion of the people or citizens of government then formed. The court concluded that Petitioner Scott did not gain his freedom by being transferred into a territory of the United States declared free by them. Because they came here and said, oh, well, Native Americans, you no longer have any rights. We're going to take those from you, okay? Those are ours now. And the people we brought over here, how dare they ever think they had rights? Why would they think that, right? All right, because Congress's power to make rules and regulations for territories only applied to those territories belonging to the United States when the Constitution was drafted. And there's a legal application here. This is sound argument. Doesn't have to mean that it's right. It's sound argument, okay? Based on everything that was relevant for that time, right? Therefore, the law making the territory free was unconstitutional. Making it free for slaves, please follow me. Finally, the court held that the petitioner did not gain his freedom by being taken into the free state of Illinois because the property laws of one state could not grant petitioners freedom. The property laws of one state, and I'm not laughing because I find any of this funny, I'm laughing because of how disgusting it is. This is a nervous laughter. The court reversed the finding that the respondent was not liable to petitioner for assault and remanded with an order to dismiss the action for lack of jurisdiction over petitioner's complaint. We got to keep going. If we're going to get to all of it, we got to keep going. Please stop watering down the egregiousness of colonization and slavery. For those of you who are watching and you are Caucasian allies, some of you already know better because it's commonsensical. But we know, unfortunately, that common sense is not common. And it's unfortunate that we have to keep using that same colloquialism because it seems ridiculous. If you really, truly, as a Caucasian ally on the right side of justice, want to do something to help us in our fight for true equity, watering down colonization and slavery is not going to do it. Nor do you have to Please understand, I know that I don't, and I know that generally that my African American friends and family and colleagues, we don't want you specifically to take ownership because you don't have any ownership. You've had the benefits of your your ancestors' ownership. And I mean ownership for liability for the egregiousness of colonization and slavery, not just ownership of slaves. But you yourself, you know, the Caucasian allies who are alive today, and if you are, then we need to have a conversation with you. We need to go and report you to the FBI if you got slaves. But most of you have no slaves. You don't, you know, you have no slaves. And I know there's a scant application in, where is it, Mississippi, where there's some individuals who just realized they were free, and that needs to be investigated heavily, and they need to be they need to suffer punitive consequences, and directly so. They defrauded a group of people to believe that they were still enslaved, that they had no federal rights, that they had no freedom, that there was no abolishment of slavery. That's just crazy when you think about it. It's crazy, crazy, crazy sauce. Crazy sauce. All right, so we got to keep moving on. And remember, I know some of y'all sticking with me. I can still see two of you there. I don't know if it's the same two. Stick with me. And, you know, I have no problem also if you chop this up in pieces, because, you know, life is full. You come back to it, view it with family or whatever, and then make comments. Remember, I will answer your comments in real time and outside of the live broadcast, because we got a lot to do. All right, so we know that we shouldn't do this. We have the reference. Let's go, let's pull it up one more time so that we are not confused. This is Scott versus Sanford, and you're going to be able to see it, you know what I mean? But I'm just showing you here so you can write it down if you're following along with me right now, okay? And sometimes we have to lovingly remind each other, because again, I can't know everything. Some of you may know some case law that I may not be familiar with. There is no, there is no legal professional nor human alive that can recite every part of every law that ever existed in every case record. They'd be alive from the pits of hell. You tell them come see me so I can call them live from the pits of hell to their face, okay? But these are the things that must be understood. It was very clear. This is 1857. This review, this certiorari, was done in 1856 and 1857. This is the judges, the court's commentary, their opinion at that time. So they're saying at that time, even they inferred, they interpreted the writing to show that neither the class of persons who had been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as a part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. The court at that time stated that there are two clauses in the Constitution which point directly and specifically to the Negro race as a separate class of persons and show clearly that they were not regarded as portion of the people or citizens of the government then formed. All right, we need truth. We got to stick with truth. Truth, what do y'all say? Truth is going to set us free. We need truth in order to achieve and maintain our freedom and equity. All right, so this is a good time to go ahead and get to the good guys, the other elected state officials, and then wrap this up. I didn't expect it to be 2 hours, but you know what? I'm in it for I'm in it to win it. And I'm going to rest for the rest of the evening. I've had a wonderfully restful day. I hope you have as well. So boom, boom, let's do it. And I'm so glad that I now have this format. I'm so thankful. Please tell me if you appreciate this 10 times better. I do, because I know y'all, you know, I appreciate you all really rocking hard with me, and I rock hard with y'all. But I don't want you just looking at me for, 2 hours. I'm just not that person. I know that sometimes when someone can talk, ad infinitum or ad infinitum, how it can be pronounced both ways. You want to defer to the lecturer, but I'm not. I don't intend to be a lecturer. I want us to interact, and I'm still waiting for you to interact with me. I very, very intentionally beseech you, please interact with me, okay? Because we really have so much to do. All right, so now other elected state officials. I mentioned to you before, we have the Secretary of State. For some states, the Secretary of State handles elections. For some states, they do not. Generally speaking, the Secretary of State for each state, and we're going to pull up North Carolina, they handle the formalities of corporate or commercial enterprise, if you will. So you incorporate as an LLC, C Corp, shareholder corporation, partnerships that have even been registered through the Secretary of State. They handle nonprofit incorporation and charitable solicitation, enforcement, making sure that there's no fraud. You've got your, so for each state, as I told you before, all you have to do is just Google, and you saw how easily that came up. We'll come out of this and we'll go back here. You notice that Michigan came up, and I think that only came up because, it's been relevant here recently. But pretty much, just Delaware, boom. And this is how you can pull up and search business entities and confirm that they are active and in compliance with the state laws, things of that nature. You can even, pull up my corporation. All that stuff is there. It's public knowledge. Then you have your Attorney General. Ours is Jeff, I think he is. Jeff something. No, Josh Stein, yeah. You have your Commissioner of Insurance. You can contact them directly. Their emails are readily available as well. And I'm just showing you just how easy this is. I'm not doing anything, and I'm glad that I can show you this in real time, because too often we think, oh, well, this is like, these are untouchable people and they're godlike. No, they're all human. And I know that, we just had this official who came out. He's supposed to be decorated and honorable and all these things. And he says that they're aliens and they have conferences for 5 hours and all this kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. Well, basically, even if we consider those aliens, right? If we consider this alien race, based on what this official was talking about, they are basically us too. And they are not deserving of any type of worship, divinity, status, none of that, okay? So they are not untouchables. They effectually work for us. And it's funny because you hear the, the anarchists, you hear them assert that, the legislators, you work for me. They talk down to them. They talk down to police officers. You work for me. African American says that and says it, like professionally and not toutingly. And all of a sudden it's evil. They say it mockingly and disrespectfully, and it's it's acceptable. It's understood because they know that they work for me. We need to have that same disposition, but we can do so in a respectful manner. We don't need to storm the White House physically to move our legislators to positive reform. Got it? So we got Commissioner Mike Causey here in North Carolina. Some of you are not familiar with the fact that the Commissioner of Insurance also handles bail bonds, and that definitely relates directly to the African American community for our disenfranchised communities. If you find yourself where a bail bondsman has abused their privileges, you can file complaints directly through them. You can file complaints through the Commissioner of Insurance for labor and just all kinds of things. And yes, there also is, boom, boom, Commissioner of Labor. And there are candidates These are people that oftentimes you don't vote for, where you should be voting for them. Okay. Some of you don't even know these people exist. So this is Josh. Well, this is Wikipedia. I try not to use Wikipedia. We talked about that before. So let me come out of this. Let's go here. They normally have their bios. They tell you all the information that you generally would need or you could use to cross-reference and when you are considering who you should vote for. And this is how you could ascertain that. Okay. And all I'm doing now is just kind of showing you, and then we're going to go to the Congress federal legislator. I'm going to tell you the individuals who are congressmen and women who I know to be the good guys. Remember, this does not exclude the individuals who are good guys, and I just happen not to know. But this is how we're starting this process off so that you can understand that I'm no one. Yes, I am extraordinary and regular. You are extraordinary and regular as well. All humans can be extraordinary in their capacity, right? But we are not superheroes. We're not literally metahumans. We're none of those things, okay? We love to, kind of soup ourselves up, boast ourselves up and believe that we have all these, this infinite power. Most of that is just in theory, metaphorically, Now we may definitely have, some scope of scientific power that we've not yet tapped into. And so right now, what we all do is human things. We do regular things, but we tout it as extraordinary because it's different. Other people just have not put in the work or don't see themselves in that position. Much like with Kamala Harris now, and now we have a lot of young, beautiful Black girls, young ladies, and young budding kings who can look and see diversity in the White House. And they can, they can imagine themselves in that position, right? And so you need to equally, what I'm asserting is that you need to equally know these individuals, look them up. I have definitely been known to email some of them. That hands down, I've done it, especially when we need to get things done in the community. And if that's what they handle, then I petition them directly. Sometimes, yes, there are things that do entail protocol, but please understand that they are elected officials and you can contact them directly and you can start the conversation with them. Even if they suggest to you that you need to go through some type of protocol, you need to stop believing that they're behind the curtain in Oz. They're not wizards. They're not untouchables. Now, we need to be respectful. We can be respectful because we can be the bigger people. We can do like our Obamas that we love so much. The one in the burgundy coat that y'all love so much. And we can stay high. But these are these individuals and you can contact them directly. You can contact their secretaries. You can file complaints immediately to them. This is your privy, all your privy. And these are individuals who are elected, so we need to vet them. They should not be in these positions if they were not vetted. These individuals should not be there just because they're incumbents, just because, they feel like they're in the political class. Well, my granddaddy's granddaddy was a commissioner of agriculture. And so that's a family business. That's not a family business. How ridiculous do you sound? In fact, that's commingling. That's unlawful. Completely unlawful. Friends. All right, here we go. Last 10 minutes. We're going to the Congress federal legislature, and then we are done. Okay. Come out of here, come out of here, come out of here, come out of here. Boom, boom. I'd already pulled those up, ironically enough. Oh, I think I may lose you now. What I do? Y'all. I'm sorry. I think I closed the window that I should not have closed, but thankfully we're good to go. Okay. So as you'll notice here, it just says congress.gov/committees. Okay. And I'm going to move it over here because I want you to see something on this side. All right. Follow my screen here. So you've got, my cursor, my mouse, not the cursor, but my mouse and the arrow. Okay, so we've got members, we've got committees, we've got legislation. I told you that the amendments are public, are bound to public disclosure. Congressional record, even bills that are proposed are bound to public disclosure. In fact, some of you are not aware of the express fact that you have the opportunity, the general public has the opportunity to make comments on any legislation that is before the Congress for ratification. And they literally give you that opportunity. It's just that most of us are not aware of it. And those of us who are, maybe there's a portion of us who just don't care, and we know that we can comment, but we don't care to comment. Some believe that their comments are just pointless, that no one's listening anyway, and others just don't feel like doing it, or they don't have the time. And some of us, like myself, we don't comment on the things that we feel like are appropriate legislation. And then otherwise we do comment on things, and there you have it. That's how you see individuals end up on TV and they're talking about their particular situation. Some of you are like, well, how is it? That's not fair. How did she get on TV? Why is she going to be able to tell her story? Because those are individuals who are sitting at home, writing letters to their legislator 24/7 and making it known that they don't agree with any particular legislation and making their stories known, and then boom, 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 there you have it. So you can do that too. You can have your story heard too. All right, here we go. We've got 7 minutes. Let's get into it here. Members. All right, representatives, which is House, senators, right? Okay. Now there are pictures for them all, but it's a little more detailed this go around. So you have to go to each website. And of course you see, I've got to move my little icon again because it goes to their individual websites. So let's see, and you'll be able to find pictures. So this is Jerry Carl. He's a Republican. Okay. So this is going to be a little, it's like I was telling you before, remember in the last session, I told you that with North Carolina, I must say, and there are 3 other states that I am generally familiar with, and it's only because I live there. So like California and Kentucky, I had a reason to look them up because they were relevant to either the business that I was running or intended to start, or for school, or whatever purpose, that was relevant for me. And so I needed to know who my legislators were. And I've been doing this, since as far back as I can remember, because some of you know that I was in law school before this time in 2002. And even before that time, this has been, like my immediate family thought I would have already been a lawyer by now. They pegged me to be the lawyer in the family when I was much, younger in my teenage years. And so this has always been my disposition, is to just, fact check and find things out, to search a thing out, which I assert is more closely connected to the way I think as a scientist, because we're going to be inquisitive, forever inquisitive. And so I would look these things up and I would find out. And so this is your full privy. It's not a mitigated privy at all. You have full right. You're not doing something wrong. You're not inappropriately searching them. You're not invading their private space. They don't have that type of private space. Yes, again, I will reiterate, it is not appropriate, even though, a lot of us were kind of like behind the scenes, kind of like, well, you know what? If you're living foul and voters come to your house, or the people you've done wrong, they come to your house and they take revenge into their own hands, that's your own karma. And indeed it is, because corruption is not part of the oath of office, not for the judge, not for the attorney, not for the police. So they do have to deal with their own consequences. That does not mean that I want, any of these individuals to die, or do I, hope harm on them or anything like that. I'm not showing you how to get to their information for that purpose. I'm showing you for the purpose of the civil process that we've all assumed and adopted, even though we were considered not humans and just property and not a part of the citizens in the Constitution. And that's why I feel very strongly that it needs to be rewritten. And maybe I think that, and sometimes I'm not really sure about how far reaching my commentary is. And the reason why I say this, and we'll kind of end here really quickly, but I'll tell you of just a few of the good guys, and then that's it, because we're at 5:57. I had tweeted about the fact, this 3/5 clause, and the fact that it's not explicit that that African Americans are part of citizens in the Constitution. Yes, there's another part of the Constitution that talks about anti-discrimination, but there are parts of the beginning of our preamble that 3/5 designation, albeit for taxation and delegate accounting, it still needs to be corrected, because the wording no longer applies, and it didn't, after the abolishment of slavery, but it doesn't serve us well to still have this language, and we need to move forward, and we need to own this stuff and be and do what's right, period. And having that language still appear in our Constitution is just not right. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so the ones that are most familiar for me, because we have to go to North Carolina, and this is why it'll be at least a little bit easier just to go through the good guys really quickly, because we generally all know them for North Carolina, but just think of it the same way as you would for your individual states. And you pull it up, they have their telephone number, they have their office, they have their party listing, all of that stuff, which is, voter registration, which is public knowledge for them as well, the district that they represent, the state, all those things. You'll be able to also see what committees they are on, like you see here with foreign affairs, small business. Let's get on down to North Carolina. All right. Okay, so I am familiar with Deborah Ross. We'll go, because it's only a few of them, very quickly. Democrat, let's see if I can get you a picture. So this is their individual websites. There we go. Can you see that? Deborah Ross. Okay. If I hit some of them. All right. Generally, what I understand her to be is a good guy. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Oop, boom. Oh. Where'd I go? Okay, here we go. Alma Adams, right? And Kathy Manning. And this is what's very important, especially for those of us who are North Carolinians. As you see, we only have 4 representatives for our state who are Democratic. And again, you may go to any of these and you may pull up. You see, they will have their full biography most often. And oftentimes, the sheer irony of this all is that this information sits here and it's not ever read. And trust and believe that us, us good guy politicians are looking at you kind of sideways on, from one regard when you say, well, we need to know more about you. What do you stand for? What's your views on the issues? All that stuff is just like, it is hilarious, because we go through such great detail to have our websites put up and make sure that they are comprehensive and make sure that you have a good idea of who we are so that we can reach the masses. Because the belief system that somehow that politicians can literally, go around the city and touch hands and have dinner with each individual or have this connection with each individual of their constituency is ridiculous. The notion is ridiculous. And even some of the politicians who will run around, they will scurry about the city and just waste themselves away energy-wise and health-wise, trying to get to every corner just to say, you saw my face, so vote for me. And that person, 9 times out of 10, is not the person you need to be voting for. If you think about it and you think about it logically, you need to be voting for the people who can get stuff done in a smart way. Maximize, not look like, a hot mess running around town just to appease you because they know that that's how you vote. And it looks minstrel. It's not motivation. Motivation is where you have a clear designated plan and you implement that plan and you maximize your use of time. You don't have waste of you don't have waste of time. You have good time management and implementation skills, and you have great oversight. You're not just running around all through town. Hey, let me shake your baby, kiss your hand. Oh yeah, minstrel. That's minstrel. Okay. So that's all we got for today. It's 6:02. This is a great time to end. I hope that you have appreciated what I have brought to the table. And I did forget to do the affirmation, but we'll do it right now because it's still relevant even at the end. I hope, it is always my hope. Let me come back here. Let me get back to the screen. All right, let me stop sharing the screen. Or was I not? Did I stop sharing? I think I stopped sharing, y'all. Good gracious. Let me show you. I'm so sorry. I hope I hadn't. I hope you were able to see it. Yeah, you did because I had moved it around. Okay, so this is what I was just showing you, just to make sure. So we have clarity, and then we'll get on off. Right here, you have 1, 2, and I forgot one person, G.K. Butterfield. You can look that up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and our most notable, Dr. Alma Adams. We have 5 Democratic elected officials who represent North Carolina in our Congress. And that by and far is not a majority, that we are the minority for this particular state. So, and we can change that. Yes, there are Republican principles that, some of us, believe in. And yes, there is some application of the history of diasporan people having elected to choose the disposition of a Republican, and it was properly suited at that time. But now, generally, the Republican stance is too closely connected to racism and divide, and it is just as an inequity, and it's just not where we need to be going forward and toward the development and implementation of a more perfect union. So as always, I hope, my sincerest hope is to inspire and further our understanding collective and individually, and foster our growth in friendship as a liaison, not someone, condescendingly hovering over you, and that I not further divide. It's been real. I am Tigress Sydney Acute McDaniel, and this has been Evolve Weekly. Join me next week, and it will be only 1 hour because we won't have all the extra stuff unless there's some other chaotic nonsense that is going on. And we do have to address those things as they come up. I'm telling you, because I want to make sure we all have our eye. I hate to say the colloquialism, but we need our eye on the prize. And the prize is our collective evolution. Civilization clearly is just not sufficient. We need to evolve. All right. So I will see you next week for week 5 of a 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'm about to enjoy some dinner, make some dinner for me and my son, and I'm likely going to have a glass of wine. All right. Have a good evening.